How's it going, everybody? CJ here, back with another video. We're doing another first thoughts today. This first thought is on Blim Comedic Genius. This card's hilarious. I love it. But before we get into it, remember, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you're going to build Blim Comedic Genius. If any of the cards that I suggested, if you end up using any of the cards suggested, and you let me know down below, because it makes me warm and fuzzy inside knowing that I helped you guys. And if there's any cool tech that you thought of that I did not mention, comment that down below too. So Blim, also if you're gonna buy any of the cards I talk about, TCG player affiliate link down below helps out the channel. Also, you can support the channel directly via Patreon, and if you do, you get to join the Discord and stuff. You can play games with us. And speaking of playing games with us, giveaway going on. First of all, you can win this Elder Dingus Highlander playmat. And you can also get into a game with us. We'll be playing the game on Spell Table, and it'll be a episode of our CJDH gameplay series. So you can play Commander with us, and it'll end up on the channel. And it's pretty cool. The link to that giveaway video is down below. It tells you how to enter and everything. And over here, I think it's going to be over here, we got at the end of the episode over here, we got a link directly to the video, so you can just click on that and you'll get there. And yeah, let's hop into this. Blim Comedic Genius. So Blim is pretty cool. If he hits an opponent, you can give them a permanent you control. And then they lose life and discard cards equal to the number of permanents they control but don't own. So you can go full on chaos with this, but I'm not going to talk much about the chaos side. Like, you can do like Warp World, stuff like that. Scrambleverse. Scrambleverse is a good one for this. Actually, you should probably put Scrambleverse in here anyways. But there's a lot of interesting cards you can throw in for the chaos side. But I'm going to be talking more about the cards that you want to give to your opponents. So we're going to start off with the bad junk that you can just pass over to other people and screw them over with it. There's a lot of really mean stuff. Like, you can get Demonic Pact into play. Let it trigger a couple of times for yourself so you can get the good stuff, and then pass it to an opponent and they lose the game. Seems good. You can do Forbidden Crypt. Forbidden Crypt is whenever you would draw a card instead, return a card from your graveyard to your hand, and if you can't do that, you lose the game. That seems pretty good, especially because it also says whenever a card we put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Good way to really screw somebody over there. Another way to just make someone lose the game. There's a lot of ways to just make somebody lose the game via their graveyard being empty. Like Immortal Coil. Very similar card. Also makes them just lose the game. You got Cold Furnace Plans. This card's kind of cool because when it enters the battlefield, you would exile top 7. But then when you pass it, your opponents don't get to use those top 7. And actually, They might be able to use your top 7, but they still skip their draw step and can only play one spell a turn, and they're kind of stuck until this is gone afterwards. Lich's Mastery, another one that if you can remove it, they lose the game. It is a hexproof enchantment, so you're not going to be able to really do it in your deck, but it also just screws them over because whenever they lose life, they're sacrificing permanents or exiling exiling permanents they control. So you hit them with Blim, that's what, 4 damage? They exile 4 permanents they control? Brutal. It is brutal. And if they exile Lich's Mastery, they lose the game. Next up we got Nefarious Lynch, which is just about the same exact card, except for the fact that it doesn't have hexproof, so it's really disgusting in this. I mean, you can just you can give it to someone, Chaos Warp it, and they lose the game. Seems good. Aggressive Mining. Make it so the player that you give it to can know, like, think about this. You ramp into Blim on turn 3. Like, turn 1, you just play land. Turn 2, Signet. Turn 3, you play Blim. Turn 4, you play a land, play Aggressive Mining. You give Aggressive Mining to somebody. You hit them with Blim, give Aggressive Mining. And if you went first that game, they're stuck at 3 lands until Aggressive Mining leaves play. And they can no longer play lands, but they can't sacrifice them, but 3 lands. That seems really good. It's pretty crippling. Then you can also do stuff with like Steel Golem or Grid Monitor. Play those, give them to an opponent. They can no longer play creature spells. That seems pretty solid. There's Rust Elemental. which makes your opponent sacrifice artifacts every upkeep, and if they can't, then they tap it and they lose 4 life. So it's just going to be doming them for 4 unless they sacrifice all their mana rocks and stuff. Or after they sacrifice all their mana rocks, it'll be doming them for 4. That seems very, very powerful in the deck. Pyromancer's Swath. If an instant or sorcery source, you can... So the first part doesn't really matter. You're going to give it to somebody that doesn't do direct damage via instants and sorceries, so that's most commander decks. But the big part about it is, at the beginning of each end step, discard your hand. So you can just make it so whoever you give it to has to discard their hand every turn, every end step, or at each of their end. No, yeah, at the beginning of each end step. So at the end of every end step, they're discarding their hand. It's brutal. With like a 0 upside, because there's no reason that people are going to be running just like lightning bolts. Next up, we got Bronze Bombshell. Just a way to just deal an additional 7 to somebody. Not too shabby. We got Cinder Giant. During your upkeep, Cinder Giant deals 2 damage to each other creature you control. Give this to the token deck, and every upkeep they lose all their tokens. That seems very, very solid. Form of the Dragon and Form of the Dinosaur. Both of these could be interesting to give to somebody, especially Form of the Dragon, because it knocks them down to 5 life, and Blim's a flyer, so if you have any way to increase Blim's power, then they're just dead. But they could be a little dangerous, because they're going to be getting a lot of firepower at the beginning of their turns. So you got to be able to kill them pretty quickly after you give them the forms. Next up is Carnival Souls. So whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you lose a life and add a black. So if you give this to a deck that doesn't use black and doesn't really have a way to use mana outside of their turn, if there's a token deck at the table, they're going to die very, very quickly. This card seems strong. This card can be very good for you in the right deck, but really bad against you in the wrong deck. Like if you don't have a way to use the mana, it's just going to hurt. And so yeah, that's what I got for bad junk. Next, we're going to talk about other ways that you can give away stuff. So you got stuff like Bizarre Trader. You can just tap it and give an opponent an artifact, creature, or land you control, which is not too bad. Just, here, have this. Here, have this. And then dome them for however much they have, however much they control but don't own. Witchclaw Talisman. It's a tutor that you then give to somebody. So it's very much on theme with the deck. Captive Audience. This one enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, so you don't even need to give it to somebody. It just boop boop. And it's got all downsides. It's rough. Harmless Offering, another way to just give somebody something. Sleeper Agent, along with Zancha. Sleeper Agent and Zancha. Zancha Sleeper Agent as well. But both of these cards enter the battlefield under an opponent's control. So that works very well. And Zancha's really nice in this deck because she basically acts as a beater for that person, but also everyone can make that person lose life to draw cards. Humble Defector, good way to just continuously give people permanents you don't control or they don't own. Tap it, you tap it, I think you loot or you draw 2 cards or something like that, and then you give it to somebody else. A Crow and Horse enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, and then each other player at the beginning of their turn gets to make a dude. So, not too bad. A good way to just, like, that works really well with Carnival Souls. Like, you give somebody Carnival Souls, you give somebody a Crow and Horse, you're making tokens every turn, that person's losing life, the other person, and they both have permanents that they control but don't own. Pendant of Prosperity, another one that enters under an opponent's control, and they can use it to draw cards or ramp. I think it ramps, but it definitely draws cards. And whenever they do, you also benefit from that. So it works very, very well for you. Goblin Cadets. Whenever they are blocked or block, they switch to target opponent's control. So they can't really die very easily, but you just easily just like bounce them around to other people. And obviously that helps with the game plan. Crown of Doom. Another one enters under your opponent's control, makes creatures do more damage to them, then your opponents can pass it around to each other. So it's a good combo there. Like it's a good way to get your opponents pit against each other. Assault Vest, you can give Blim an Assault Vest and have opponents start smacking each other around with Blim. Coveted Jewel, a good one that also switches around control a lot and it gives you card draw and ramp, and it gives whoever gets it card draw and ramp. But I mean, whoever gets it, you also have upside on that because of the fact that it's a permanent that they don't own. So very, very good. Rainbow Veil, another one. Land, you tap it, you give to somebody. Witch Hunt, it goes randomly to people at the beginning of upkeep. So it works randomly, but I mean, you can still capitalize on that. And it's another way to just give out permanents. And so yeah, those are all the cards I could find that are very easy to give out or help you give stuff out. And the last thing I want to talk about is just a couple of good cards like Smoke and Crawl Space. Because you're going to be mainly just having Blim as your main creature in this deck. So you don't want to be attacked with a lot of stuff because you're going to be open for attacks a lot. So Smoke and Crawl Space make it so you can't get attacked as easily. And just good protection there. Also, like Cushion Falls could work pretty well for that too. And so, yes, that is what I've got for Blim, Comedic Genius. Just giving your opponents the shittiest stuff you can find and just going nuts with smacking them in the face and making them discard cards and lose life and losing the game with bad enchantments. It's great. This card is funny and Comedic Genius is very, very fitting. So that's what we got. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Comment down below if you're going to play Blim if you are. Let me know if there's any cool tech cards that I didn't mention. I would love to hear about that. And if you want to support the channel, buy any of the cards that I mentioned. TCG Player, affiliate link down below. Click on that, buy your cards through there, and it helps the channel. You can also support the channel via Patreon. Then you'll join us in the Discord. You can play games with us. You can play games. You can win to play a game with us too on the channel via the giveaway. You can win this playmat and join us in the game on CJDH, and it'll be fun. We'll play on Spell Table. The link should be right here. Click on this button right now, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out, everybody.